Hey y'all, hi. It's finally time for the video about green color correctors. I've been testing these 4 green color correctors really for months at this point. A lot of you know that I have been doing that, and I've actually been surprised by how many comments there have been of people saying, when is the green color corrector video coming? Because I have a particular interest in green color correctors, and I'll talk about why when we really get into the meat of the video. But I don't hear people talking about them that much, so I guess I thought I was kind of alone, but apparently not. I think I'm going to call the video I tried all the green color correctors at Ulta, which is a bit of an overstatement because what I did was I tested 4 green color correctors, and I'm not even sure that all 4 of them are still available at Ulta. But when I acquired these 4 for testing, I got them all from Ulta. The thing that's really interesting about them is that they're really different. Green color correctors really run the gamut, and by testing just these 4, I was able to learn a lot about the different qualities that a color corrector can have, which ones work best for me, and which ones might work best for other people even though they're not the ones that work the best for me. So we're really going to get into it. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love makeup. I love green color corrector. I also love fashion, interior design. I love beautiful things. And a lot of my content, whether I'm reviewing new stuff or demonstrating the use of new or old stuff or just philosophizing about stuff, is really about fostering and celebrating the love of beauty without falling into the trap of overspending. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So I'm going to talk about why I like green color corrector, and in doing so, kind of give you a baseline of information about my skin and what I require from makeup so that you'll know where I'm coming from in my approach to these products. And then I'm just going to go through the products one by one. I have good close-up footage of myself applying each one of these color correctors to my face, and I have a lot to say about each one. I have very pale, dry-leaning skin with undertones that I think fall somewhere between truly neutral and olive. And it's only within the last year that I have figured out that I have olive undertones, and I actually filmed a whole video about that, and I'll link that video down below because it will help with context for this video. I also struggle with redness on my skin. I'm one of those very pale people who, when I wake up in the morning, and especially after I've washed my face or rubbed skincare into my face, I just have really, really red skin from my cheeks all the way down to my chin. My forehead isn't usually red, my neck is usually blazing white by comparison, and then my entire face is just ruddy. I don't think it's rosacea. I think that it's just maybe a little bit of inflammation from dryness, a little bit of reactivity, kind of a chapped feeling or a chapped appearance. Redness is also an issue for me because I struggle with acne. So when my skin gets blemished, I have the natural redness, and then I also have the redness of scars or active blemishes. And when I figured out that I have olive undertones, I realized that green color corrector does another thing for me. It adds some green into my complexion products. And one of the reasons that it's been so hard for me to find concealers and foundations that match my skin is that none of them are, as it turns out, green enough for me. So the addition of green to a base product helps it match my actual skin better. So for me, green color corrector in general is like a smash hit product. And some days I apply a little green color corrector, and then I feel like I don't even have to use concealer or foundation if I just use a little bit. And in every case, it significantly reduces the amount of concealer or foundation or some kind of coverage product that I feel like I need to apply to my skin to make it just look even. But that's me. And that is because I have, again, olive-toned skin and I deal with redness. So it's 2 birds with 1 stone for me. Green color corrector is canceling out my redness, which is a concern, and vibing with my undertone, matching my undertone, and therefore bringing any cosmetics that I might use on my skin closer to my undertone. If you're watching this and you have an interest in green color corrector, you might have only one of those 2 goals. So you might have redness, but if you don't have olive-toned skin, then you might be looking for green color corrector that's going to neutralize redness, but without actually making your skin look more olive. And if you have olive-toned skin, but you don't necessarily deal deal with redness, then you might be looking for a green color corrector that you can basically use as a mixer to just add a drop of green to any foundation product that you might be using, but you don't necessarily need it to do the work of neutralizing redness. And I hope that going through these 4 green color correctors one by one and telling you about their properties and showing you how they look on my skin, you'll be able to pick the best one for you, because I actually think that depending on what you want, any one of these 4 might rise to the top as being the better choice for you. And the one that has turned out to be the best choice for me might not actually be the best choice for you. The 4 color correctors that I got at Ulta for review for this video are the LA Girl Pro Conceal HD Concealer in green, which comes in a squeezy tube with a brush tip applicator and is by far the greenest of the 4. It has the lowest percentage of white base or white pigment in it. And next up we have the KIKO Milano Skin Tone Concealer in shade 1, Corrector. This comes in a little teeny tiny tube. It's actually like a really petite piece of makeup, especially compared to the other 3, with a doe foot applicator. And this is the opposite of the LA Girl Pro Conceal. It has a lot of white pigment mixed into it. And especially when I swatch them side by side, you can see that the KIKO Milano Skin Tone Concealer really looks white, like a white concealer with a bit of green pigment mixed in. Right away, you can see what I'm getting at in saying that green color correctors run the gamut. It's almost like they're designed for 2 totally different things, 2 totally different applications. They're really, really different products. The third one is by far the most expensive of the 4. These are 3 drugstore priced green color correctors in one designer. So this is Les Correcteurs de Chanel. It's the Chanel green color corrector. And it comes in this beautiful classic Chanel packaging. It's a sort of frosted feeling tube with a doe foot applicator, a long, elegant, slender component. And swatching it next to the first 2, you can see that it falls kind of in the middle, right? It's sort of like the other 2 mixed together. Maybe a little bit on the KIKO Milano side. It definitely has way more green pigment than the KIKO Milano side, but it still has a little bit of that kind of bright pigmented opacity that comes from the white base. And last, but definitely not least, the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Concealer in green. This comes in a hard plastic component, also with a doe foot applicator. Again, classic NYX packaging. And when I swatch it next to the other 3, you'll be able to see that it's the most similar to the Chanel, but a little bit greener. It is also kind of a happy medium, balanced green color corrector as green color correctors go, and without quite as much of that white base. Price-wise, the LA Girl Pro Conceal and the NYX HD are very close together. I think that Pro Conceal is about $5 and the NYX is about $6. The KIKO Milano is the next most expensive. It's $8.50 at Ulta, but all 3 of these are, well under $10 basically. The Chanel green color corrector, on the other hand, costs twice as much as all 3 of the others would cost combined. Like, you could buy these 3 twice over and you still wouldn't have spent the $43 that it costs to buy the one from Chanel. Let's go through them one by one in that order. So starting with LA Girl Pro Conceal. This one feels to me the most like an art supply because it's just so green. And when I apply it to my bare skin in the footage that I'm going to roll, you'll be able to see that even though it goes on kind of shockingly green, and even though because I'm applying so much in this B-roll footage to really show you how it looks, I do end up looking kind of green once it's all blended out. Even though that's true, you'll be able to see that it does blend away way more than you think it's going to when you first see how much of it I'm putting on and how green it looks. The formula feels a little bit stiff, maybe just a little bit compared to other green color correctors I've used, but it's not difficult to blend out. It's pretty elegant. I wouldn't call it serum-y, but there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have to fight it to get it to blend. And side note here, I do have experience with the Lancome Tint Idol, which I think that this might be sort of a dupe for because that's also a very, very densely pigmented green color corrector without much white base, where a little bit goes a very long way and it's kind of stiff and sticky, and the tube kind of looks like this, although it doesn't have a brush tip applicator. And it's much more expensive because it's from Lancome. I think it's $30. I had it a long time ago and I used up the whole thing. This is easier to blend than that. I always felt like that one was very, very sticky, and I really kind of had to work hard to get it to melt into my skin, and I've never had that problem with this. As you'll be able to see from the B-roll, this does a lot to neutralize my redness. And it's interesting, you'll see me looking quite green, but weirdly better. Like my skin looks weirdly like a better match for my neck. Too green to just walk out the door and go about my day without people being like, are you ill? But I think that the rightness of the way that my skin looks with a thick application of this, the correctness of how it looks, really shows how green my undertone is. You know, you can really see that I'm olive undertoned because you can really see that it's bringing the tone of my skin closer to what's actually natural for me and what matches the rest of my body. I think this is a really good product. I especially think that this would be a good product for someone whose skin isn't as pale as mine and who doesn't want any white base in their green color corrector. If you're just looking to neutralize redness and you're not looking to add any kind of lightness or brightness tonally, then this is going to be better than any of the other three. I think it would work especially well if you have olive skin that's deeper in color than mine and you're looking to tinker with your base products and just make them more appropriately olive and a better match for you. I also think that this would work really well for making blemishes less red on any skin tone. Just like dotting it onto the blemish, letting it sit for a little bit, sort of blending it in to the reddened skin around, and then working on top of that if you want to with whatever base product you're usually using. So I can imagine this being a really versatile product for a lot of people, a really useful product for a lot of people, and I can imagine that for some of you out there watching, this is going to be the one that is a better choice than any of the others. For me, some of the same qualities that will make it work better for you make it a little bit less than ideal for me because I really like it when I apply green color corrector and rub it in, and it's that perfect balance of being like green pigmented and serumy and skin-like and brightening and lightening on my face so that it pretty much disappears and you don't really see the green. And this never does that for me. On me, on my pale skin, it always looks green no matter how little I use. I can still use it and I've used it many a time. It's just that I always have to use it together with a base product. I always have to go over on top of it, basically to tone down the green. But it does its job incredibly well, and after I use it, I feel confident with just the littlest bit of concealer or foundation or whatever it is I want to use. And if I'm going to use a concealer or foundation that I know isn't anywhere near green enough for me, then this is the one that I'm the most likely to reach for because it's the one that's going to add the most green into the mix on my face. Let's talk about the KIKO Milano Skin Tone Concealer. When I was taking the application footage, I applied this on the other half of my face after having applied the LA Girl Pro Conceal because I wanted you to really be able to see the two extremes on my skin. So this is a green tinted product, but again, it's very, very white. And you'll really be able to see that when I'm blending it out. Because of that bright white base, it does something that I've learned over the past couple of months with these color correctors is not ideal for me. It turns the redness on my skin pink. The green that's in it definitely helps to tone down the redness, neutralize it, but at the same time creates an overall very cool toned effect on my face because it makes the redness pink. So you know when you're mixing paints and you have like a blob of white paint and you mix in a little bit of red paint and you mix them together and they make pink? That's what's happening on my face at the same time as the green color corrector is neutralizing. So it doesn't come out as brightly pink as it would if I were just mixing red and white. It's definitely like a softer pink or a more neutral version of pink than it would otherwise be because there's green in it too. But when I use this, I find that I end up looking like I've applied a base product, a foundation or a concealer that is way, way, way too cool toned for me, like has the wrong undertones. And this is because I have such olivey neutral skin. It's very, very the wrong product for me because again, I'm I'm both trying to neutralize my redness and trying to match my olive undertone. And this does neutralize my redness, but it is completely at cross purposes with goal number 2. However, if you have very cool toned pale skin and you have redness, which is a lot of people, right? A lot of people who struggle with redness and who are trying to neutralize that redness instead of using other base products or before applying other base products. A lot of people with that issue have cool toned pale skin. If that's you, this might actually be better than any of the other ones, because one of the things that a green color corrector can do is to make your skin look more yellow. And if you have very cool toned pale skin, that kind of bright white, icy blue toned or pink toned pale skin, I can imagine you going through green color corrector after green color corrector being like, I want to neutralize my redness, but none of these are working for me because they're making my face look yellow. When you have cool toned skin, it's a battle to find base products that aren't too yellow for you. If that's you, then this is the one. It's going to actually neutralize the redness on your skin and kind of turn that redness into the pinkness that is the tone, the undertone of your skin. It's going to take it more in the direction that you're trying to go, closer to the color of your neck, your forehead, the rest of your body. So this is the one that I ended up using the least. Cosmetically though, it's very elegant. The consistency, it's like a lovely, creamy, kind of lightweight, but it has good pigment, buildable concealer, basically. I mean, this is being marketed as a correcting concealer. And I can definitely see an application for this in certain people's lives where it basically works as your base product. Like it's all that you need and you don't need to go on top of other things with it. It applies beautifully, it blends beautifully, it wears beautifully. I've already talked off my lip product, reapplying. So LA Girl Pro Conceal, a great product, but like not enough of that balancing white base for me. And then KIKO Milano Skin Tone Correct, a great product, but way too much of that balancing white base for me. So of the 4, these are my bottom 2. Now we're getting into the other 2, my 2 beloveds. I have really enjoyed using both of these, and they are much closer to each other than either of them is to either of the other 2, and of course much closer to each other than the other 2 are to each other. So I decided to apply them together, one on half of my face and the other on the other half, so that you can have a comparison between them. Let's start with the Chanel corrector. So on first application, it does seem to have that kind of pastel green quality of the KIKO Milano, much more so than the LA Girl, right? The LA Girl doesn't really have that pastel quality. This does, but as soon as I start blending it out, the white base that's giving it that quality really shears out, and at least on my skin, doesn't really have any effect other than softening the green. In other words, it doesn't make my redness pink. It just kind of helps the entire layer of the product become one with my skin and sink into my skin. Again, when I was taking this application footage, I was using a little bit more than I usually use every day when I use any of these, because I really wanted you to be able to see the product on the skin. But there are a lot of days when I just put a touch of this under my eyes, on my chin, and blend it out, and it disappears completely and I don't look green at all. And it's also very cosmetically elegant. Again, not quite serum-y, not quite to the point of being runny, but creamy and very lightweight. It's a pleasure to blend it into my skin. I absolutely love the way that it makes that redness sort of disappear and kind of like makes my skin again. Using it feels just the way I want a green color corrector to feel. It feels like using a filter. So I have nothing bad to say about this product. What I will say for you in terms of deciding which one to get and making these small distinctions between formulas is that, if anything, I would say this one runs a teeny bit on the side of having more white base. Again, nowhere near the KIKO Milano, but just maybe a teeny bit more, a touch more than would be ideal for someone who has golden skin, warm toned skin. I think that with this one, there's enough of that white base in it that if you do have cool toned skin, it will still work for you. If you really need or want that like icy blue-white neutralizing of your redness, then go for the KIKO Milano. But if it's not that serious, but you're worried about a green color corrector, like an intense green color corrector making you look yellow, then this one might actually be the happy medium, and it actually might be the best one. And of course, if you love designer things, if you like fancy things, if you like elegant things, if you like to spend a little more and feel like you have the most exquisite version of a thing, then this is definitely the one because it checks all of the boxes, at least for me. I think that it's very versatile and it's definitely a pleasure to use. Again, the long, sort of slender, elegant component, the way that it looks, the way that it feels. It's the nicest, of course, because you're paying like 6 times more than you are for any of the other ones. But the thing that's great about the last one, the NYX HD, is that it has all of the qualities of the Chanel, but just a little bit less white base. It's just a little bit more green, and because of that, a little bit less of that opacity, a little bit more of just tinkering with the redness, like turning down the dial on the redness. And for me, this is the one that is the most likely to kind of reset my skin to the way that it would look if I didn't have redness the most easily and seamlessly, because of the balance of all of its qualities. I hope you'll be able to see in the footage when I apply it on the other half of my face, the Chanel being on the first half, that more than the Chanel, and of course more than either of the other two, it alone, without a base product mixed in or layered on top of it, it alone makes my face match my neck. The skin on my face with this product on it might still look a little bit darker than my neck, but tonally it pretty much does it. It brings it much, much closer to the color of my actual skin on my forehead and my neck, even than the Chanel product. In practice, they're really neck and neck. Like, to me, they're indistinguishable from each other just in terms of what they do for me. And in fact, today, after I filmed that B-roll footage where I had applied the NYX to one half of my face and the Chanel to the other, I went back to my vanity and I applied the whole rest of my makeup on top of them, even though I had a different product on one side of my face than the other. And of course, you can't tell. And I didn't put very much concealer on either. I used kind of a light coverage concealer and just sort of blended it in with those green color correctors. And I think, I really don't think that you would be able to tell. Cosmetically, this NYX green color corrector is also very elegant. It's just as creamy, maybe a teeny tiny bit stiffer. Of the four, I do think that the Chanel is the most cosmetically elegant, the most blendable, the most pleasurable to put on the skin, but the NYX, it's a very, very close second. Definitely to me feels like a comparable product in that way and in every way. And again, of the four of them, when it comes to doing the work of both neutralizing my redness and really, really vibing with my undertone in that kind of spot-on way, without doing anything that even comes close to transforming any of my redness into pinkness and like making my skin look more cool toned, this is the one that does that the absolute best, the creme de la creme, the winner, basically. Because I personally put a premium on the physical quality of makeup packaging and the cosmetic elegance of products, I find myself reaching for the Chanel just as frequently. I'm never disappointed when I use the LA Girl Pro Conceal, but whenever I use either one of these two, the results blow me out of the water. And there have been so many times over the course of my months of testing these green color correctors when I've sat down to do my makeup, especially when I do it on camera, and I have a bare face, a bare red face, and I apply one of these two, the Chanel or the NYX, on my face, just like you saw me do today in the footage, although maybe a little bit less, just a little bit less. Blend it in with my hands or with a brush, and then I look in the mirror, or when I'm editing back the footage, I look at the footage and I'm like, I don't need foundation now. Maybe a little bit of spot concealer. And I like to use foundation to kind of brighten up parts of my face. But in terms of just taking the edge off that redness, taking away the impression of like raw or almost sort of wind whipped or wind chapped skin, which is what my face has when I wake up in the morning usually. I mean, not skin that's actually wind whipped or wind chapped, but the impression of that. They both work perfectly. So they're my winners. And I think that I was very clear about why the LA Girl Pro Conceal might be the best choice for you, even though it's not not my winner, and why KIKO Milano might be the best choice for you, even though it's not my winner. Of these two, I will say that if you like buying Chanel makeup, if because of who you are, this is the one you want to buy, if it would just be your favorite one to have, but you've been waiting for me to tell you whether or not it's any good at all, let me tell you, it's great. If you're just looking for the best one and you want to spend less if possible and you're happy with drugstore, definitely get the one from NYX if your constraints and goals are similar to mine. And that is it. I hope that I have been as thorough as I needed to be, and I hope that those of you who've been waiting for this video have enjoyed it. If this is your introduction to green color corrector and it's going to be for you the revelation that it's been for me, then hurrah, yay, welcome to the club. I feel like the takeaway of this kind of product, and other color correctors too, because it might be that redness isn't your issue, but that you, in investigating color correctors, learn that color correcting rather than coverage is what you need. The takeaway is that it's not always about just covering up your face. And that's what I love about this kind of product. I love being able to polish my appearance, but I don't always love the feeling of just covering up my entire face. I don't love the feeling, and I don't always love the way that that looks. It's great to be able to, again, kind of turn down the dial on that redness, tinker with my appearance without actually covering up my skin. And I think that most of these products come in other colors as well, yellow, purple, if you're looking for another kind of color corrector. And I hope that this review will have given you information that you can apply to other colors if that's what you're shopping for. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you for being here and for being subscribed if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I hope you will subscribe. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.